The site visit is a chance for the applicant to lead the team in presenting the project with passion and enthusiasm. Information should be at a high level, and the presentation should be polished and professional.
The first thing that I'm looking for is the logic of the presentation and making sure it's clear for everyone that's there, clear for the members of the committee, which are coming from another perspective than the one from the institution and from the one from the researcher that's presenting. This is most important because they come from another background, they have another perspective, and the presentation must be clear to them and logic in the global sense.
It's very similar to a job interview, right? So essentially, the committee went through the whole thing. You jumped through a lot of hoops. They're ready to give you the money. Essentially, this is your funding to blow, right? Don't blow it.
I think it's like Dragon's Den, in that, you know, in essence, the PI for an industrial shareholder is, in many respects, an entrepreneur with a vision for 5 years.
I started with the idea that they probably didn't like everything they read, or that they misunderstood some of the things that I said. So it was, I was prepared, but I would say more like ready to be flexible in the answers.
Focus on emphasizing the main points of the application and on informing the committee of any updates that may have occurred since the application was submitted. Keep in mind that the committee is looking for new and additional information, not a live presentation of the written grant application that they have already read.
The presentation should be short and concise. It should, at the very beginning, allow all site committee members to understand the overall picture of the project. You should avoid large tables that are hard to read in the presentation. Really, you're pitching your proposal to them. And you will have ample time during the entire day to discuss maybe more important technical issues that you know will be important for particular site committee members.
This is really sort of a polished proposal that you're presenting to 5 very busy people who are traveling from all parts of the world to understand what our program is. And so it was really clear that we wanted to have a very clear message, and a message that could be easily understood because they will write their recommendation that day.
This is very, very important in my view, that you keep it entertaining. You don't want to have a very dry, very stick to the point presentation. That will essentially mostly throw people off, or they drag to sleep. Again, I'm sure a good professor, a good teacher knows how to keep the attention of the class.
You've written this proposal and you've thought about it for months. So, you know, you went through iterations over iterations of that proposal. So now you have to look at the interview as, or the site visit as part of the proposal, not necessarily a duplication of it.
A key component of the site visit involves answering questions from experts in the field on why the project deserves to be funded. Be prepared to address questions posed by the committee to clarify any outstanding issues or concerns.
You have to be able to predict the obstacles and the challenges, and the committee is there to give you a hard time. Not that they want to give you a hard time, they want to see that if you are prepared, how you're going to manage the challenges that you haven't foreseen in the proposal, or other things that may happen when you're involved in the project.
The candidate must be ready to answer questions in a convincing manner. It's good to have a convincing presentation, but the questions is usually an important part. They will usually surprise a candidate because the members of the committee have read the application, they've discussed the night before, so most of the time or all the time they're very well prepared for the session.
A good presentation requires thorough preparation.
My guess would have been about a month and a half of preparation. We submitted the proposal, and then we had about a month to a month and a half before the site visit committee. And so what we really did was peer reviewed, had our own internal peer review of our proposal that had already been peer reviewed, but we really was more, what would you ask of me? And then from that, I developed a presentation. I presented it to our partners, previous, as I said, as a team, to sort of say, And then we looked at comments from our partners, and I revised our presentation again.
I think it's really important to get to know the members of the site committee. They've taken time to read your proposal and have flown often long distances to hear you and participate in the site visit.
Arrange a dry run session in advance of the site visit so that everyone, including industrial partners, understands their role, the questions they will be expected to field, and the messages they are to deliver. Ensure that industrial partners are part of the rehearsal, as they will be expected to speak to the application in a private, in-camera session with the site visit committee.
We met as a team, so the industrial partners that I had on our proposal, the dean of my engineering faculty, we met previously almost as a dry run to talk about not necessarily what questions they would ask, because that's something we can't predict, but really what the tone was going to be, what kind of clear messages we wanted to express to the committee so that they had a good understanding of what we were trying to accomplish.
We did 3 dry runs of the actual tour. And the actual day, where we would seat people, what the room would be laid out like, where we would move people to, what was the most advantageous room to have people in for the caucus groups, for the actual meeting, for the presentations. And we did that 3 times. Each time we tweaked it slightly because we'd identify areas that when we started walking through perhaps didn't run as smoothly as we wanted to. You also have to consider the time frame. So what is your day like? And you have to stick to those time frames. It's very, very important. The committee's time is valuable, your partners' times are valuable, your time is valuable, your stakeholders that are coming in to support you, you have to be on time for them because they've allocated a certain amount of time to be here.
It's a question of communication. So as you're preparing your presentation, you should be keeping your industrial partner in the loop, trying to entertain his ideas, like really what is driving them in terms of their investment into your project, and how can you easily explain to the site committee why that industrial objective is actually novel and will advance science for Canada in general.